This discussion will delve into the impactful and approachable ways tech can be applied to help SME manufacturers and producers compete in an increasingly digital world. Chairing the panel, I'm delighted to say we have Graham Howe, Relationship Development Manager at AMRC Cymru, who works with SMEs across Wales. Thank you very much, Graham.
Thank you. I'm just going to introduce the panellists. Can you introduce yourselves? Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Really excited to be here this afternoon chairing this panel. A topic that I think is close to the hearts of all of us on the panel. Before we start, I would like to ask each of the individual members of the panel to introduce themselves and a little bit of background about what they bring to this conversation.
Hi, so I'm Lisa Lucas. I'm from the University of Wales, Trinity St David, as well as being the university with the longest name in the world. We got a number of campuses. I'm sort of from the Swansea campus, which looks mainly at the sort of STEM and creative industries areas. And as well as involved in lots of projects around upskilling for industry. We also run a number of projects, initiatives, activities, which are very industry focused. So it'd be great to share some of those with you today.
Yeah, my name is Craig Jones. I'm the Tooling and Process Development Manager for Fibrax. We're based in Wrexham in the automotive industry, so predominantly plastic, rubber injection molding. And me and my team identify the designs and the developments for the downstream processes and tooling required for all the new product development that we do. So identifying the right technology and how to deploy that, essentially. We've got our site in Wrexham and we've got two other sites as well overseas. So, considerations for not only the technology but cultures that it needs integrating into as well. So yeah, that's me.
My name's Rhys Wilson. I work for the Diamond Centre Wales, based outside Talbot Green. We do bespoke custom jewellery, diamond jewellery and precious stones. We go from the process from design and creation right through to the manufacturing process. Everything is made in-house with our in-house goldsmiths and jewellery designers and our CAD team. We also have an R&D team and we've branched off into research. We work with several universities across the UK, several Welsh universities and Innovate UK, where we do funded projects to help our industry and further afield. We work with lasers, nanotechnology. We also work with traceability and blockchain. And we also work with additive manufacturing and precious metal printing. So we can print in gold, and platinum and silver. And we also work with artificial intelligence and augmented reality. So we're doing a jewellery custom designer right now where you can view your jewellery in real time, customise it, design it, change the metals, the stones, the cuts, and then you can view that on your person in real time on a mobile device. So it's first of the world kind of stuff. Very interesting.
Fantastic, thank you. What I've got to say about this panel is the diversity in terms of its manufacturing processes, etc. Really diverse and different speakers from those areas and different sectors that should prompt a really good conversation. What I would say is if you've got any burning questions, we will take questions through the discussion as well. We're not going to leave them all to the end. But I think then as topics come up, if you've got a particular point or you disagree with something that the panel said, please just raise your hand. I think there's some microphones heading your way for that, so thank you. I think this topic, a lot of experience in the panel in terms of digital, particularly for SMEs. 99% of Wales' organisations are SMEs, so it's a real important topic, particularly for us here in Wales. And also post-pandemic, I think there's quite a lot of bruised SMEs out there dealing with the challenges today and perhaps not necessarily looking at the opportunities or problems that are coming tomorrow. So I think some of the audience will be familiar with some terms. As we go through the conversation, if some of the terms are not familiar, please again raise your hands and we'll try to unpick some of the issues around digitalization within SMEs today. And I think it probably comes back to what's the problem we're trying to solve, isn't it? I often come across technology almost for technology's sake, and that's probably not what we're trying to do here. And what is the thing that you've obviously both have experience of introducing technologies in your organizations. Where did you make a start? What was your starting point on the first time? So Rhys.
So for us, It was just an off-the-chance meeting with some guys from Innovate UK, and we started talking about what we do in the industry and what we'd like to see in the industry. The jewellery industry as a whole is quite an archaic sort of, has an archaic image, whereas people, you see the jeweller hunched over a bench creating this jewellery, you know, with his wooden tools, and very old-fashioned. Well, we want to move it forward. How can we do this? How can we bring innovation to our industry, and also obviously increase sales and increase our demographic? So the first project we took off was our artificial intelligence and augmented reality application. And we've been building that over time with help from universities and other bodies. As technology has progressed over the last few years, especially COVID, where it boosted that industry forward dramatically, has helped us realise our goals and our dreams. But it all started from one chance meeting, whereas innovation and collaboration, it doesn't have to be a big scary process. It can be something quite small, and you can just, you know, expand your network, talk to people, talk to industry leaders, talk to people in your sector, talk to competitors. There's no reason why you can't, you know, bridge these gaps and work together and bring innovation into your business.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think from a very different type of business in your role, Craig, I know you've been involved in deploying lots of technology solutions. So how did you make those first steps?
Yeah, I think when I came into this role, it just happenstance really that just kicking off a smart partnership with Trinity St David. So joke and luck a little bit on my part for that, because I got to kind of pick that project up and run with it and didn't necessarily have to do the prospecting for it. What that gave me was then, you know, a foot into the network and the ability to keep engaging them with the universities, then engaging with Welsh Government and other opportunities that come about through meeting new people, and not only through meeting those people, but understanding the technology as well. So the first project that we did was automation. It was deploying robotics, deploying sort of self-learning vision systems in the application of glue adhesive. Now, after that, we had a foot in with the university, so we started looking at some additive manufacturing projects. We experimented with printing injection mold tooling cores for faster cooling. We're looking at reducing cycle times by, you know, up to 30%, and that was just kind of a snowball of having that engagement and that interaction. So I think the most important thing is, how do you get the foot in the door? How do you meet those people and start interacting within the industry? I think that's the key that we have to work out really as an industry, getting those opportunities in front of the right people in the right businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. Something you've both mentioned there is that your engagement with universities, and in the plural as well, isn't it? So it's not one university you've engaged with. I think Rhys engaged with several.
Absolutely. Yeah, the first thought of collaborate with a university can be quite a scary one, because they're a big body and they're very official looking, but the people, they're real people, they're approachable. Once you start working with one, you start to know the people involved and you get familiar with them, and then you can think of other projects you can do, and you think of other universities and you can join with them. And they're quite friendly, they're quite approachable, they'll give you their time, they'll give you their expertise. It's about filling that skill gap, isn't it? Where you're with your team, you can't afford to hire a software developer, a scientist, these people, professional spectrometer people, you can't afford it. Whereas if you collaborate with universities, they have those people and they're willing to help. They want to push innovation, they want to help industry. So it's a match made in heaven. And the more you do it, the more you branch out and the more universities you work with. We work with several all across Wales and across England as well. We're really, really lucky. And the more we do, the more we want to do, the more people we meet, the more projects we think of, and it just goes on and on and on. Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's coming from an industry to approaching academia. How do you find it from your side, Lisa, in terms of talking to industry from an academic and academia perspective?
I mean, it works both ways, doesn't it? There's things as a university that we need from businesses as well, in terms of telling us what you need, those future sort of pipeline of skills coming through. But I think a lot of it comes back to that conversation. I think, universities are awful at jargon and acronyms, and there's so many different pots of funding and support. It's great. We want all that support to stay there. But I think there's a bit of a duty of care on our part as well to kind of help translate all of that, because it's a minefield in some respects. And I think it just starts exactly as Rhys said with that, and Greg said, with that initial conversation of what are the pinch points, what are the challenges that you've got ahead of you, and then kind of muddling through it together to try and find the right solutions, pots, funding, skills, whatever that may be, that mutually benefits us both then. Because, from our side, it's fantastic as well. We can come back to you and say that we've got students really keen to do projects, and, you're accommodating towards those. We've got validation panels that we need feedback into. So it's a two-way relationship. And I think if you've both got benefit in it, then it's a win-win then.
Yeah. So that really starts the ball rolling, that conversation, doesn't it? So how did you start when you looked at your digital technology deployment type projects? Where did you start? What did you go for the big starlit, etc. headline projects, or were there other projects you tackled first?
Well, I mean, it depends on where you want to go. I mean, a lot of people, you can start off small and then develop yourself into larger projects. You want to know what is going to make the most impact for your business, your sector. Is it going to create new jobs, create new skills within the industry? You could look at the potential of doing a small project where you could not just reach a larger demographic, but you can also train up your team and your core team to develop their skills in-house. So then you can develop your team along with that project, ready to hit the next project. And that you can grow with scale over time then. And like I said, the more you get familiar with the university, the more you get to know each other, and you can help each other and branch into more projects. So yeah, it's really about starting where the key points is within your business, and then growing outwards. You can look at the more exciting, crazy projects as you're more comfortable with the innovation cycle.
Yeah, I think what you're saying there is right. I think it has to be incremental in its growth. So, for example, you could go for a huge project, but you need to be able to sustain that within the business. And if you haven't gone through a series of incremental growth, not only in your understanding of technology, but your upskilling of the people that are in the business, whatever you've spent all that money on to integrate is probably going to fail, because you haven't got the people in the business that have been upskilled to manage that and sustain that. So I think you've got to start small. I think you have to start small. You have to say engage with university, engage with Business Wales, Welsh Government. Look what's available. Look what's available out there in terms of resource, and start small. And then you need to kind of identify the people in the business who have got an appetite for it as well. They could be an apprentice. It doesn't matter. You just need to identify the people within the business that will take that on board, co-lead the project if they haven't got project management experience, be involved from the outset, and they will grow with the project. And before you know it, they'll be doing those big projects, but it's a big ask to try and sustain something without the upskilling behind it.
Yeah. It's a parallel approach between the deploying the technology and the upskilling agenda then that goes alongside it. And make a really good point there that somebody within the organisation to champion it, it doesn't necessarily have to be a senior management position. It could be the apprentice that's doing a programme at the local college.
I think what you find quite often in SMEs, particularly the SMEs that we're probably trying to target here, which are the ones who, are a bit more insular and they're not looking outside as much. Probably the people that are interested in technology in those businesses are probably the apprentices, are probably the younger workforce, and they have the ability to do that, take it on board and grow with the business and be a great asset then as well.
Yeah. I can just imagine the young apprentices going home in the evenings and using headsets and VR and AR, etc., and suddenly then being able to, how exciting could that be in terms of deploying that technology in the business?
And that's important to get across to even the youngsters in college and things like that at the moment, or even coming out of high school. If you go into engineering, all these fancy things or fancy bits of technology that you see around, that could be a job. You can be working that day in, day out. It doesn't have to be something that you just watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right?
We say earlier, there's a job to do there, isn't there, in terms of changing the perception of what the industry is? Because I think, unfortunately, when we think manufacturing, not just manufacturing, construction as well, we still struggle to get the 18-year-olds in because they see it as a typically, long hours, unpleasant conditions, which it's not for the most part. And they are using state-of-the-art equipment and technology, and, to know that these opportunities are available to them and more often than not on their doorstep is missed in some cases.
Yeah. Absolutely. You mentioned something there about the language as well. You're talking about that. I quite often find SMEs don't do R&D, but actually they're developing products, developing processes for those products, and shipping products across the globe. So have we got a language problem there on technology and R&D development that we need to perhaps consider?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people are doing R&D and don't realise they're doing R&D. When you're sat around chatting about, what can we do next? How can we make this better? What's our next step? That's R&D. You're actively sat there discussing with your team, your business partners, your workforce. What can we do? These little meetings you have, your AGMs, your staff meetings, whatever you want to call it. You're talking R&D. You're talking how can the business be better? How can we make it more efficient? What can we do? And those little conversations can spark big ideas. And it's not always the managers or the directors and the CEOs that have these ideas. It can be the apprentices and the young lads. It can be anybody on your team. It can be the guy who comes in and cleans the office first thing on a Monday morning. These ideas are there. And it just takes somebody to listen to them and actually think, actually, we can do that. We can engage with our idea and practice it with the business. Yeah. And again, make the collaboration and talk to the right people, and away you go. You don't know where it's take you in 6 months, 12 months.
There's a misconception, isn't there? So, been in many conversations related to research and development, related to innovation. It doesn't need to be an invention. You don't need to be creating a new product. You don't need to be reinventing the wheel. You don't have to be sending rockets to the moon. You just need to be improving something that you're already doing here and now. And it just needs to be, the key is it needs to have a little bit of risk to it. Yeah, a risk outside of what you would normally take on as a business operation. And if it's going to improve your operations or any element of the business, there's some risks to it. It's outside of what you've done before. Then you are innovating, you are researching, you are developing.
I think that's that whole thing, isn't it? Small steps, big impact. It's starting with those small projects, but actually looking at those individual elements, those ideas, and deploying them within your business to have that bigger impact. Not just, I'm guessing, in terms of productivity improvement, but what you've mentioned there in staffing and resource, etc., in growing that staffing structure as well. So I'd imagine from your very automotive sector, polymer moldings, etc., and obviously your business, but from a university perspective, you get to see a lot of diversity amongst and you must find then there's crossovers between the different sectors.
Yeah, I think we've always said, one of the biggest impacts we've seen from some of the industry programs we've put together is the diversity in the cohort itself. I think we're all perhaps guilty of, all attending the same networks, reading the same journals, reading the same strategies, talking to the same, and that's great. We need to keep doing that, but then we're missing an awful lot as well. And I think, when we've put creative industries, medical, large, small, micro in the same room, the magic kind of happens then, and we can't create that. Yep. But what one person has solved somewhere is the person's problem, and it's that kind of diversity and that within that cohort really does stimulate innovation then naturally, and projects spin out of that. It's big. We've seen big impacts in that, just putting the people in the room together, or virtual rooms in some cases. Yeah.
I remember when I was teaching, having a conversation with a craft weaver in West Wales and a scientific equipment manufacturer outside of Cardiff talking about innovation management. I never thought I would have that conversation with two very different organisations, but equally they learned from each other. And actually, I would say probably the scientific equipment manufacturer learned a lot more from the craft weaver than the other way around. So coming back to what you were saying then about, do you imagine 5 years ago that you would be on a panel talking at Wales Tech Week as the Diamond Centre Wales?
Absolutely not. 5 years ago, I decided to go back. Well, a little bit like that. I decided to go back to university. I was a restaurant hotel manager running pubs for SA Brains, and I went back to university and did computer applications development. and absolutely loved it and fell in love with it. I've always been into computers and things. And the Diamond Centre just started their first project, which was the augmented reality application, the jewellery designer. And they took me on board to manage that project and continue it because, as we say, the project starts, the project ends, but it doesn't ever truly finish. It continues going and it continues developing, which is why you invest in your core team doing the project and you can carry on that development afterwards. So I stayed on at Diamond Centre Wales, and then we started new projects and branched off into different things. And then I took over as R&D and a projects manager. And to be here now is a great honour for Diamond Centre Wales and for the companies in Tech Week to be able to talk about our experiences and see if you guys can take something from this today. And it's fantastic. Yeah, really happy to be here.
I never knew that, in fairness, your prior to 5 years experience, etc., and what you brought in. So I suppose from my perspective of having worked in the university and that skills agenda, that's a real key thing, isn't it? That actually we always said when we run part-time programs, we're educating today's workforce as well as the future workforce as well. And 80% of the future workforce is already there. So actually that change of direction sometimes for some people is a huge opportunity for them.
Yeah. It's never too late to have a change, branch out. I mean, since the 5-year period of finishing my degree, I did a master's with Cymru in Industry 4.0 Advanced Manufacturing, which helped me gain. So I had the technical skills from my degree, but the master's helped me gain the vocabulary and the understanding of how to talk about these things. Because you're talking about innovation, you're talking about quantitative and qualitative data. How do you use those? How can I put that into industry? Are we using our data correctly? Every company is gathering data. What do you do with that data? It's just sat there on a database, going stagnant. What can you do with it? You can do target marketing, you can push it forward. And that master's helped me understand that. So now we do targeted marketing. We've got the social media up and running. We've now employed artificial intelligence through a chatbot. So that manages all our social media talk and all our website talk. So it then helps the girls and the guys downstairs that deal with all these customer inquiries to sift through a lot faster. And a lot of those unnecessary sort of questions are answered automatically. So it's a nice little technological innovation in the business. Just a very, very simple, small thing of adding an AI chatbot and program it with the questions we want, and saved us countless hours when the guys been working on more innovative projects or more exciting designs and more developments for the business and thinking of new ideas. It's amazing how things can change in a very short period of time.
Yeah. And like you said there about data that you've already got, and it's probably cost you money to get that data, but what were you doing with it? Probably weren't doing a lot with it, and then suddenly now applying some digital technology to that data, suddenly you get a lot more value out of that as well.
Exactly, yeah. It was literally sat on a database.
Yeah.
The last 15 years of the company running, all this information was just sat there. But not only that, as we create bespoke jewellery as well, we have a CAD team, and they're designing this jewellery and creating it. Well, that's just sat there as well. So all these 3D models are just sat there. So we decided we could use those. So we've taken the customer data, we've added mailers and drop lists, we've taken the CAD designs and put it into a 3D application. So we've built an entire 3D jewellery shop, I suppose, where you can interact with and customise jewellery off stuff we already had made that was just sat on a 15-year-old database. Yeah. So it's created a whole new app for us, a whole new revenue, and a whole revenue stream for the business. We're hitting a much larger demographic, and we're diversifying the business and retailing through all hours of the day now through stuff that was just sat there doing nothing. Fantastic.
I think that's a fantastic insight to a manufacturing process, which is batch size of one. There's one unique part, isn't there? So,
exactly.
Yeah, on the other end of the scale, in the automotive sector.
Yeah, I mean, for us, one of the keys, particularly with it being the automotive industry, is where you're doing some small batch sizes for your small car manufacturer, your small volume manufacturers like your McLarens, your Aston Martins. You might be making a couple of hundred parts a year, and then at the other end of the scale, you're manufacturing for the likes of Renault, PSA, and you're making millions a year. So one of the key things for us is trying to find flexible solutions. So what type of automation can we use that we can not only design for one product, but what we can design for a product range, or even beyond that, a a range of products in various categories. So not only can you find a piece of technology that will, so say for example, you want to inspect a plastic molding part that's got some clear dimensions, clear specification, and it's rigid. It's not going to, you send it down a conveyor, you look at it, it's not going to change. On the other hand, we make rubber grommets. If you send them down the conveyor, they're rolling all over the place. And you know, how do you find a piece of technology that can cope with that full range of products? And it's possible you can do that. And when we did the adhesive application project, we used AI learning within that vision system to be able to cope with a variety of constraints. So not only could we look at a rigid plastic part, we can now look at varying shapes and sizes across a different range of specifications. And all we have to do is load up recipes and say, you know, this is what you need to look for. And it understands that to an extent. And so now we've gone from one application to dozens of applications with the same piece of technology. That's, you know, for a sector where you are continuously having to, almost feels like you're continuously having to fight to, you know, it's a race to the bottom, so they say, isn't it? That kind of ability to is, you know, that's the key to remaining competitive. I think in today's world, you have to be able to apply flexible solutions.
Yeah,
that's a good point as well. In terms of there's the misconception that technology means expensive,
yes.
Whereas obviously a lot of the things that we've been focusing on been very much on the low cost solution. So again, like you say, starting small, doing something that perhaps might only cost a couple of £100 in some cases, rather than investing tens of thousands in something later down the line, which is daunting for lots of companies to take on, isn't it? So
that's a point on that as well. It's a lot of the time when you go to suppliers and you go with a problem, you say, this is my problem, can you give me a solution? There's a lot of suppliers out there that are over specifying, yeah. And instead of offering you a £10,000 solution that will solve your problem, they're offering you a £60,000, £70,000 solution that's going to solve a problem that you don't have, yeah. And that's where it's important to start engaging and tie up with the likes of universities and other bodies that have got that knowledge to try and help you unravel those types of risks, I guess, because that £10,000 solution could be feasible, that's doable. That £70,000 solution may not be for a small, you know, SME, and that's the difference between you starting your first technology project and you going on a roadmap to being a market leader. Yeah, and that is just your own gaining knowledge within your business. So that happens a lot, I think, and that is a big barrier to innovation. Solutions being over-specified for the problems.
Yeah, and there's a risk then attached to that, isn't there? That risk of failure, if you've just invested £70,000 on a piece of kit and it doesn't do what you intended it to do, suddenly then all future investments are probably questioned and probably don't go ahead because it puts a roadblock in the place, doesn't it? And then suddenly Industry 4 technologies or automation, that's not for us. We tried that before, it didn't work. And actually the execution was the problem, not necessarily the fundamental thing you were trying to fix. Okay, so we mentioned the skills agenda. That's come up in terms of engaging with universities. Do apprenticeships then have an opportunity to fix that as well? I know from Trinity St David's perspective, a very unique model on Friday afternoons being run. So.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, you were part of it, but it's something the university have been doing for probably 25 years or more now, in delivering part-time programs on a Friday afternoon, because that's what industry wanted and needed. You know, they're now called degree apprenticeships, and there's funding attached to them, and that's fantastic. But we are certainly seeing a massive shift change in terms of the types of students that are coming through to us. You know, we're even seeing situations now where students are coming in and enrolling on a full-time undergraduate program, and then as an opportunity presents itself with a company, actually switching pathways and changing to the degree apprenticeship pathway. Yes, it'll take them a bit longer to get their qualification, but they're coming out without the debt that a student carries. They're earning while they're studying, and they've potentially got a job already to go into at the end of it. So it goes back to that thing we were saying earlier, that, you know, the more engaged that the industry are with us and telling us the types of person and the types of skills that you need, then that's kind of happening now on a almost individual level in some cases.
But that makes it a two-way street, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It ensures then that the need from the industry, again, coming back to that industry-driven approach, so the industry is driving the skills requirements, and then talking to the universities, the FE colleges, etc., about curriculums that actually deliver for you what you're actually looking for. I'm guessing in there then are the skills then that you need for deploying.
Yeah, I think what Lisa said there is important as well, because for us, when we engage, we give you information, we give you feedback that allows you to scope what you need to do going, you know, in the future, to share knowledge with other businesses who are sharing knowledge with you. It becomes this virtuous cycle then of being able to feed the industry and give the industry what it needs, rather than just, oh, we're going to put a course on for this and hope it's going to be a good idea. Yeah, so I think the more...
And it can't stop either. We say it can't just stop. I think, you know, certainly since COVID, I think, you know, the appetite with the companies now is that they want that in-house capability and that in-house knowledge to be able to do it yourself. You know, we want an ongoing relationship, but not one that relies you to come to us and say, can you do this for me? Right, it's done. Thank you very much. And then you've got to come back to us a year later to do the same thing. It's about feeding that through, isn't it? So that you leave being able to do it yourselves then.
Yeah, this actually helped us adapt our business as well. So we ended up opening our own little school. So we have the Jewellery Academy of Wales attached to our business. Goldsmiths are very hard to find, especially younger goldsmiths. So we decided, right, let's train them. What else can we train? Well, we've got a full-fledged CAD team in-house, so let's train CAD as well. Well, we can do CAD remotely, we can do distance learning, so brilliant. So we went back and forth the university and got some opinions and some help, and how can we do this accredited, how can we work with universities, how can they work with us, send people our way. Because we have a lot of links with Birmingham University, who obviously have the jewellery quarter, and the jewellery school there. So they've helped us as well, and then we have a lot of connections with UWTSD, Swansea University, so there's another route as well. And it just made us realise, well, we can help train these people for industry. They don't have to come and work for us after we train them to be goldsmiths or CAD operatives. People are coming in remotely from all over the world and learning CAD, and it's just about giving that bit back, isn't it? We're able to do that now. We're able to train other people. Let's help out and get people into industry and working, and these people can help other people to innovate then, create new jobs over again.
Then you get the pick of the best in it as well.
Well, that does help, yeah.
We all laughed at that, but actually,
There's
absolutely. There's something in that. And I'm guessing, though, as well, for your staff retention, did you see an impact from the deployment of technology to help with staff retention?
Yeah, absolutely. If you invest in your staff, they'll pay it back to the business. We've put 4 of our staff members through a master's in Industry 4 Advanced Manufacturing, and they've learned about Industry 4, Internet of Things, you know, big data. They've learned about smart factories, dark factories, cobots, everything they need. And these people we've all come back with ideas, a new idea. We could try this one. Cobots. We're looking at bringing cobots in to help out the staff to move things and check jewellery, inspect jewellery. We're talking about smart benches. How can a bench help our goldsmiths? Well, it can automatically pick out the weights, the measures, the pieces they need, the components they need, and put it all together with them. So it makes them more productive. But it can also then alleviate the older members of staff that have been there for a while and help train the younger staff. It takes off that role of the more senior members of staff and teaching these people 24/7. They can actually carry on doing the cool bespoke stuff while these guys are learning off them and the technology.
Yeah.
So it's brought the business on tenfold. Amazing.
You can't underestimate either what that engagement does for those people who are then engaging, whether it's a master's or you give them the opportunity to go to exhibitions like this or events. that's such an uplift for morale for those people, particularly in SMEs. It's really important because they can be so insular and everybody can be so busy because everyone's wearing so many hats, that give people the opportunity to look outside their role and to engage with other people in the industry, see what's going on, go see some cool tech, go get some ideas of what other people are doing. Before you know it, you'll have people coming back to you saying, I've got this idea, can we do this? Please let me do this. And all you've got to do then is just take the leash off and let them go and do it, So I think give people the opportunity to get out there and interact and engage with what's going on in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what I really liked about what you talked about there, Rhys, was none of that was about taking somebody's job with some automation, was it? It's all about actually helping your current staff do their jobs much better and in a better way, and also then encouraging the next generation, etc. as well.
Absolutely. Invest in your team, invest in people, and they will invest in the business and help you through. You've got more staff retention, more skilled people, more skilled people in jobs. And that's where you want people you can rely on, people who do the job well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Give people opportunities to, I wonder how many people are at an operational level on the line, stood there doing repetitive tasks day after day, thinking to themselves, I wish I could do more. I want to do more. I want to be more. And if you automate their job and give them the ability to then go and, understand technology, go to a wider role in the business, spot the people who've got potential, then that should be a priority for the business. Everybody should be doing that.
Yeah. Again, it comes to that thing about looking outside your sector as well, doesn't it? Some of the things that you've done in your roles, etc., just amaze me in terms of looking outside that sector. And I'm guessing, looking back to some data last year from Welsh Government about the number of SMEs that had relationships with universities, something like 28% did. Well, that just told me 72% don't, which is a scary number. That's a lot of opportunity that is being missed. So
that's across the board. I think obviously, we've got a duty to do better at that, and but universities aren't necessarily looked at as a business resource. We've got expertise, equipment, funding. Welsh Government have got funding. There's brilliant networks out there that've got support and funding. It's a hell of a landscape to navigate when you're trying to do the day job, isn't it? And I think somehow we need to get better at help, feeding the right sources of funding and support through to the people that need it, or we're not engaging and don't know they need it. It's a definite barrier.
I think as well with the recent change in some of the Welsh Government funding, I would, if you haven't come across Smart Fizz funding, etc., please look out for it. I think the change that Welsh Government have made is really, really beneficial particularly to SMEs, taking that much longer term approach to it rather than a project by project basis. So that's really encouraging to see that coming through now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's encouraging businesses to think long term about innovation. We've talked a lot on the run up to this about funding and things like that, and we're unsure how much to go into it, because you need to try and treat funding as something to help you along your way to your long-term plan, not to try and find something that fits. So I think the steps that they've taken, there's loads of funds available. If you speak to the right people, then you can do that. But think about the long-term plan. Say start small, but think about the projects you'll be doing in 3 to 5 years' time, and go on a roadmap. Don't just try and short-term find things to don't look for funding and try and find a project to fit it ultimately. Yeah. Think long-term about innovation.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm just going to ask each of the panelists to give one thing that an SME listening to this today could do to start their innovation journey. But whilst they're thinking about that for a moment, if there's any questions, please raise your hand and a microphone will head towards you at some point. No questions?
Stunned silence.
Stunned silence.
No questions. Must have covered absolutely everything.
So, Rhys, do you want to kick off with what's the one thing you do, knowing what you do today, what you've learned over the last 5 years, the one thing that you would do to create a big impact with a small step in your business?
So the main thing I would look at would be your first of all, your funding, what's out there. Just spoke about the SFIS funding, amazing. The government just restructured things. So this funding, instead of trying to fit your innovation into this small little niche criteria, we've got to do this and this to tick off these boxes to get the funding, they'll now actually invest in you as a business and your ideas as a business. So if you want to have a meeting with your team, sit down, talk around, have a brainstorming session, flag up some ideas, any of those ideas, actually, yeah, we could run with this, we could really go with this. Seek funding. Welsh Gov are here today. Innovate UK are there today as well. Go and talk to them about it. We've spoken to the guys this morning about the SFIS funding, what we can do with it and how we can press forward. Really fast turnarounds and good freedom with your projects where you can innovate and add small steps to your business. They'll help you with what to do as well. Where do you want to go? You don't have to write up big business plans and forecasts and risk assessments. They'll actually talk you through it and help you do it instead of being lost in a mountain of paperwork like previously. So that even though the funding has changed and altered, and there's a lot of pots out there now, not just one big pot. There's small pots here and there you can tap into and look for. You can talk to your Innovate UK specialist, talk to your local government innovation management, and they will help you. They're there for you. They're there to get you that money and that support and that assistance. So that's the main thing I do first and foremost. Yeah. Brainstorming session, find some funding.
Brilliant.
For me, I'd say if I went back and I would start all over again and it was day one, I would say, as a leader in an SME, you need to identify a long-term plan. You need to identify the people in your business who aspire to be part of that plan, who have potential to carry your innovation journey, and you need to map that out. And you need to say, right, this is the core innovation team. This is the long-term plan. We're going to start small, and we're incrementally going to build from there. And the first thing you want to do is go out, engage in events with universities, with any bodies around you that have been on that journey or can assist you on that journey. Engagement, long-term, invest in people.
That's a really interesting point. I don't think we've covered that collaboration and that relationship. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say collaborate. Collaboration.
Yeah.
No, it is. You're right. It's absolutely key, isn't it? I think, there's so much information. There's so many facilities. There's so much support. There's so much going on. There's so many amazing companies doing amazing things. And even the ones who do it day in, day out still struggle to keep up with it all. So you just have to keep having those conversations, keep collaborating. It might not be something now, today, it might not be something in 6 months, but if you know what's there and what's possible and what you can tap into, then as things come into the business or as you face things, you know to pick up the phone to, to put an email to, and hopefully somebody be there ready to help navigate through some of that.
Yeah. I think that's a really important point, actually. And you said it much better than I would have said it. From my side, in terms of the AMRC, our engagement, I've got one company visiting Sheffield tomorrow. We've been talking to them for 18 months, and it's never been quite the right time. So you never know when the right time is until that moment when something lands and just think, actually, I know, I'll go and speak to X, Y, or Z. So that collaboration, I think it can be underestimated as well in terms of the effort that's sometimes needed for that. And it needs to happen all the time to grow that relationships don't just happen overnight, do they? They need to be nurtured and grown, etc.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any questions from the audience at all? Any whatsoever? No, we've clearly covered it. I would just like to say a huge thank you to the panellists. Phenomenal. I'm always bowled over about what we make in Wales. We don't shout about that enough, in all fairness. We need to do more. We need to do better at that in terms of engaging with the younger generation in terms of bringing the technologies forward. But I'm always bowled over by what we actually make here in Wales. It's phenomenal. And these panellists are testament to that as well. So huge thank you. Thanks for your time. Thanks for agreeing to do this. Much appreciated. Thank you.
And can we thank Graham also for chairing an excellent panel, very insightful. Thank you very much, Graham. That was wonderful. Well, we'll be back at 3:45 with the next session, talking about exploring other sectors. The next session is transforming for a digital future in the public sector. So hopefully we'll see you here for that at 3:45, so 15 minutes. Thank you, Graham.